What is going on, my friends? My name is CorruptYT, and it's time to talk about the Zap Miner attack at Town Hall 11. In this video, we're going to be explaining to you guys everything that you need to know about Zap Miners. We're going to be talking about the step-by-step procedure, a live attack, as well as showing you guys two different examples of how you guys can use different versions of this attack. So, if you guys are interested in seeing more content like this here on the channel, make sure you're subscribed, make sure that you guys are ringing the notification bell for more of my educational Clash of Clans content. Without further ado, let's get started. First, let's go ahead and go over the step-by-step procedure before moving on into the live attack. Let's go ahead and start off with base identification. This is going to be a very important topic that you need to understand when using this attack. So typically you are looking for the clan castle. An example of this is right here. You see the where the clan castle is, and it doesn't really matter what's around it as long as you can get rid of it with other defensive buildings and just using it to create some pathing for your miners. That's all set. So as long as you get rid of these defensive buildings like you see here, those are things that you might want to take down, like the wizard towers there around it, maybe the cannon there if you get lucky or if that's where you want to place it. But for the most part, you want to try and get rid of anything that is around the clan castle. That is going to at least net you something when you actually create the funnel. So getting rid of the wizard towers is something nice. Now on screen, you will see a graphic that shows you when to use hogs, miners, and hybrid. Now this is definitely something that I have been asked really commonly throughout, using the hybrid attack and kind of learning it and learning when to use it. So I made this specifically for those that want to get an understanding of when to use them. And I'm going to reinforce this when we talk about what you should be looking for. And this is definitely something that you should maybe screenshot, and it's going to give you guys a very good idea of when you should use miners. So to reinforce that claim, I want to show you guys this base here, and let's show you all the non-defensive buildings within the base. These buildings here are all considered non-defensive buildings, meaning that we want to make sure that we are looking at these before we do our attack. And there is quite a few of them. We want to make sure that we are getting rid of these buildings with the miners. That way what we're able to do is keep our miners together instead of them splitting. So this is a good example of how you guys can get some really nice pathing in. So for the most part, this is when you should use miners. If there are a lot of non-defensive buildings in the base, this is when you should use miners instead of hybrid. So that is kind of the whole thing of using this. Now what we're going to do is explain to you guys the use of the lightning spells. Next up, the lightning spells, and what you're going to see on screen is the number of lightning spells that you need for each and every defense in the game. This is going to help you when you are looking for stuff around the clan castle, whether you are doing a Sui hero version or a Queen Walk or Queen Charge version. This is going to give you guys the idea and reinforce it. So definitely take a screenshot of it. It's going to be very helpful for you, especially for those at Town Hall 11 and at Town Hall 12. This is going to help you. So what you want to try and look for specifically is going to be the clan castle and anything surrounding this. If you can weaken up the king, you can. It's not really, that necessary, but if you can get rid of stuff like the wizard towers, so we're using just a couple in order to take them down. I think 3 on each side to get rid of them. And basically what we're doing is after this, creating a funnel for our queen. And that's kind of the whole gist of using the lightning spells, is by making sure that you're able to create a solid area of the base. So if we kind of draw it out for you guys, you can see that we've already gotten rid of this part of the base, meaning that if we were to send the miners in, we can kind of get something that looks like this when we enter into the base. That's what you want to consider when you guys are using this. You want to try and open up the possibility of much more funneling when you're using the lightning spells. So keep that in mind when you're using it with the miners. Now let's go ahead and go over the Queen Charge, funneling her, and also talk about when to use a Sui hero. Next up, let's talk about the Queen Charge, Queen Walk, or Sui hero when you guys are doing this. Now, when you guys are using the Queen Charge or Queen Walk variation, it does of course depend if there are open wall segments. In this base, there are, but just know that in league play, this is what's really common. For the most part though, if you're doing a Queen Walk or Queen Charge, you may want to bring super wall breakers or regular wall breakers to break in case it is necessary. So what you're doing is you're creating a funnel on one side of the base to force the queen to go in a specific direction. That way what happens is she kind of walks in for the multi-target inferno. What we're doing in this one is getting rid of a couple of these buildings, like I mentioned, the storages, the collectors, stuff like that that's going to cause some pathing problems for a hybrid, and we want to make sure that we're getting rid of half of the base by using that Queen Charge. So that's going to be a very viable way of creating one side of the funnel. Now, what if you're using a Sui hero? You can use a Sui hero in case that the base is right. You will be seeing an example of using a Sui hero into a full mass miner, not a Queen Charge or Queen Walk mass miner, but you're going to see the use of it with a Sui hero and just a full send of miners, 37 miners. You'll see that in the live attack where I'm going to reinforce all the ideas that I say in this video. So that gives you guys an idea of how to funnel your queen, as well as how to get her in and what you should look for when you're doing that charge, like the Inferno Towers and stuff like that. Now let's go ahead and go over funneling and how to send your miners in. Now the next part here is going to be fairly long. We're going to talk about the uses of the Siege Barrack or the King to create the funnel, and then we're going to talk about the miners and spells. So remember that in this attack strategy, what you've got is either a Siege Barrack on one side, or you're going to be using the King on there. What you're doing is you're just trying to create pathing for your miners. So you want that Siege Barrack to kind of funnel out a specific part of the base, mainly being this. So you want to cut this area off, and you already did the same thing with the Queen. That way your pathing here is going to look a little bit like this into the base. Very simple stuff. So you'll see the use of the Siege Barrack here, and we don't have the King unfortunately, but if you were to use the King, you can. Maybe use a Baby Dragon or Wizard to help support the King to go in the right direction. It's a very easy hero to create a funnel with. Now you'll see that we're going to be sending in our miners once we have a solid funnel set for them to move in. So kind of moving in diagonally and then kind of moving in like this is what's going to work for this. Now typically you want to try and enter in towards the Eagle Artillery early rather than later, but you can still see that we're using the heal spell, the Warden ability, and then another heal in order to make sure that we're keeping these miners alive. Typically though, you want to make sure that you're using it over a bigger group of miners instead of a smaller group. That way you get much more from your heal spell, and sometimes you may want to hold it as well. So you always want to consider different things. Now you did see the use of Hog Riders there, and it was just to support the miners as they push through. So Hog Riders from the Siege Barrack are always going to be really nice to bring, but you want to make sure that you are keeping the you want to make sure that you're keeping the heal spell specifically for the miners and not for the Hog Riders. Unless of course they interweave, then that's just going to net you a ton of value. But for the most part, if you can keep your queen alive throughout the entire raid, that can provide you with a lot of support for your miners as they push to the back end. So this gives you guys a really solid idea of how you guys can use the miners, how you guys can create the funnel on the other side, and how you guys can send all of this in. Hopefully this gives you an idea. Even though I couldn't show you guys an example using the King, this still gives you guys that bit of information knowing how you guys can still 3-star even if you don't have the Siege Barrack. I would suggest bringing in the Stone Slimer if you do not have the Siege Barrack. Use it on the back end with Hog Riders, and that way you're able to support your miners even further. So just keep that in mind if you don't have access to the Siege Barrack. But now let's go ahead and move on into a live attack. So here we got an example of a live attack, and let's see what we can do. So I'm going to use the lightning spells over the Wizard Tower and the Clan Castle. So I'm going to try and get rid of as many structures as I can when I use the Zap Quake. So there we go. We can weaken up some of the defenses around here. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to first try to create the funnel for this Sui hero by dropping the King in. And then I want to make sure that we're supporting him by using the wizards. And that way he's able to create just a little bit more of a funnel. I'll go ahead and use a couple miners here to provide just a little bit more. A test wall breaker, and then the rest of the wall breakers. And then we'll use the ice golem, queen, and that should be enough to create a funnel for the queen to move in. Alright, this is looking fairly good right now. We've already created one side, so I'm going to use the siege barrack over here. And I might use a wizard there to provide just a little bit more support for the queen. But we're looking fairly good. We're just creating a little bit more in order to get in for the town hall. And if the queen takes it down, that's even better. But now that we have a good funnel set, I'm going to go ahead and send in my miners. We're going to pop my queen ability, drop the warden in, and let's see where we should be using our first heal. Use it right here. That's going to get us through a fair chunk of this DPS here. So let's see. Queen should be able to take down the eagle. But once my miners get out of range of this, and we're going to pop the ability right there to protect the miners as they move through. I still have 2 more heal spells as well. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the heal right there in the core. It's going to get rid of the Tesla farm and the Eagle artillery. Looking fairly good. And we have some Hog Riders coming in as well. So I'm going to use the heal to support them and the miners. And it looks like we're going to be getting the 3-star here. I know this base wasn't entirely maxed, but this still gives a fairly good idea of how you guys can still wreck bases. Again, I won't find max bases every time. It's just a farming raid. But if you want to use this for farming, this is a great farming attack strategy. You don't have to worry about the clan castle. Of course, you do need to have your own clan castle troops. But this does work really well when you have that siege barrack or even the stone slammer and you're able to actually get some nice or decent loot. I did get some nice loot. I'm also in Masters 1, so it is a really good attack strategy to use when farming. Now, that gives you guys a very good idea of how you guys want to use this, and I reinforce the claims of how to do this one. So you use the lightning spells, and then you go ahead and use the Sui hero. I showed you a Sui hero version instead, and then using the siege barrack on the other side to create a little bit more of a funnel and sending your miners in. So now that you guys understand that, let's go into 2 other examples that are still very important for you guys to understand, and we're going to show you guys those right now. Now, in this example, this is going to give you guys an idea of how you guys can add Hog Riders into this attack. Primarily, this is only going to be used when you need to support your miners or create just a little bit more of a funnel with the Hog Riders. That way, you're able to get your queen to go in the right direction. And you'll see that in this example. But again, what we're doing is we want to really take a look in the base and see, all right, how many structures are there in the base that can really kill off the hybrid attack, and how can we adjust it? So by looking at these ones here, those are going to be the type of defensive buildings here that's going to make it fairly difficult for you to kind of get into a base with the hybrid. And that's why we want to look at it for a miner attack. Now, of course, bringing the Hog Riders in is definitely a good thing because it supports our miners, and it also kind of helps take down defenses, makes it a little bit quicker, kind of goes through a little bit quicker. So that's what I kind of wanted to explain here. So remember that we want to use the lightning spells over as many of the structures as we can. So you'll see that we're using them over the expos and the clan castle. Now, of course, we could have used it over the Eagle artillery, but the Eagle artillery is a little bit too far from the clan castle. So you want to consider that. I didn't mention it in the Zap Quake or the learning how to lightning spell, but to use the lightning spells on the clan castle and the Eagle artillery kind of takes a little bit of time. So you need to make sure that you're able to get them when they're close together. So that's what you want to try and do, and those are the bases you want to look for. You'll see in this example what we're doing is we create a funnel here with the P.E.K.K.A. with a couple Hog Riders and the King on one side, and then we're sending our Queen in. We're using the Rage in order to keep this Queen alive and to kind of push into the base, get rid of the multi-target Inferno, and set some funneling for the miners. Now, while we're doing that, we can create the other side of the funnel, and notice how we're sending in the miners towards the Eagle artillery, not away from it. So if there is a chance that you can send your miners and Hog Riders into the base for the Eagle Artillery, you can do that. Now, some of you may say that this is a hybrid attack, but I would still consider this a miner attack when you bring a majority miners and not a majority or an even number of hogs and miners. You want to try and make sure that you are using majority miners in the case that there are a lot of collectors, storages, altars, stuff like that in the base. And as you can see, as you're pushing in, you've used those heal spells to provide enough support for your miners as you move in, and you could use it with the Hog Riders if in doubt. You can use them like you saw in my live attack. So you always want to try and consider those small little things when you guys are doing an attack like this. But for the most part, this shows you guys a really good example of how you guys can use the miners by adding a couple support Hog Riders in there. You don't need to have a lot of Hog Riders to have a ton of support. So this gives you guys a really nice idea of doing just that. Now let's give you guys an idea of when to deal with the clan castle and get rid of just the Eagle Artillery and other stuff around it. Now this one is going to be using the lightning spells over just the Eagle Artillery and anything around there. What we're doing is we're just trying to carve out some areas. Now before we actually move on, I want to show you guys again, I want to reinforce this, but look at what's in the base that could cause some pathing problems for a hybrid. This is going to help you identify exactly what you need to consider when you're doing this. So for the most part, most of them are towards the bottom part of the base, which means that we want to go ahead and use the miners in this fashion. So what we're going to be doing is starting off with the use of the Zapquake, getting rid of the Eagle Artillery along with any defensive buildings like the Expos, the Wizard Tower around that area. So notice the use of the Earthquake there in order to get rid of some of these structures. We have a poison spell to deal with the clan castle troops. So if you're seeing a clan castle, you always want to bring a poison if you're not dealing with the clan castle. So that's why you always want to make sure that you're able to get your troops in. So by using the queen, using a baby dragon or two to create a funnel, we want to make sure that we are getting our queen to walk in the right direction. After this, what we're going to be trying to do is deal with the clan castle troops. So by keeping this highlighted, you can see where that queen or where he's trying to direct his queen to go. Using a couple Cocoa Loons in order to soak up any Seeking Air Mines to protect healers, and also make sure that he's able to get his queen to go in and still deal with the clan castle. So you'll see that we're going to just poison it up and use a free spell. We have two free spells here, so we're going to use one of them to help deal with the headhunters, the witch, and baby dragon. What we're going to do on the opposite side is use the king and the siege barrack. This is really where, like I mentioned, you can use the king to create the other side of the funnel, and you can kind of carve out an area of the base. Now you'll see in this one is that we're able to get our miners to go straight into the base. Now because of the awkward pathing here of the miners, it is going to be a lot easier for you to use the miners instead of both the miners and the Hog Riders. That way they're going in one set direction. And then you have the Hog Riders from the siege barrack move in. Now this one has no heal spells. This is absolutely something that I've never seen before, and it's something a little bit different. So you are relying on your Warden ability. That way you're able to easily push through. You have no heal spells, so this means that you want to use it towards the back end of the base. You want to make sure that you're able to push your miners through and allow yourself to get a ton of value in this way. So you're using a majority of your lightning spells in the Earthquake to get rid of the Eagle Artillery and anything around there. That way you're able to also then move through the base very easily, but that means that you're going to be very limited. You could either use 2 free spells or you could use 2 heals. In this case here, he decided to not bring a heal and bring a freeze instead. Now, hopefully this gives you guys an idea of how you guys can use these Zap miners at Town Hall 11. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, make sure that you leave a like on the video. Make sure that you subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you guys never miss any of my educational Clash of Clans content. Don't forget to go ahead and follow me over on the social, over on Discord, and over on Twitch. Those places, the links to those are in the description. And along with that, make sure that you use code CorruptYT in the Clash Champ shop to save 10% off your purchase. Other than that, though, guys, that's going to do it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys next time. Corrupt, signing out.